I stared at my phone screen, reading the group family text for the third time. Everyone was buzzing about Christmas plans at Mom and Dad's house. Marcus mentioned bringing his famous eggnog. Sophia was coordinating gift exchanges. Jennifer talked about the kids' excitement. But as I scrolled through message after message, one thing became crystal clear. My name was not mentioned anywhere. Not once. 28 years of family Christmases. And suddenly, I was invisible. The silence felt deafening in my studio apartment. Something was terribly wrong, and I had a sinking feeling I was about to find out exactly what. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If this resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Trust me, what happened next will change how you think about family forever. The job loss hit me 3 months ago. One day I was creating marketing campaigns for a mid-sized firm downtown. The next day I was clearing out my desk with a cardboard box and a security escort. Budget cuts, they said. Nothing personal. But losing that income meant downsizing fast. The 2-bedroom apartment became a studio. The reliable car became bus rides and ride shares. The confident version of myself became someone who checked his bank account twice before buying coffee. My family had always been tight-knit. We are Italian-American third generation, and family dinners were sacred. Mom still made Sunday gravy from scratch. Dad still told the same stories about his father's bakery. We measured success by how well we took care of each other. At least that is what I thought until recently. Marcus, my older brother, had everything figured out. At 30, he owned a successful real estate development company, lived in a suburban McMansion with his wife Jennifer, and had 2 kids who called me Uncle Emmy. Sophia, my younger sister, worked as a nurse practitioner at the children's hospital. She recently got engaged to a doctor she met there. Both of them made our parents beam with pride at every gathering. Then there was me. Recently unemployed, recently single after Amanda decided she needed someone more stable, and recently relocated to a place where my bed doubled as my couch. The group text kept buzzing throughout the day, but I noticed something strange. Every message about Christmas planning seemed to flow around me like water around a stone. When I finally could not take the uncertainty anymore, I called Mom directly. "Hey, Ma, about Christmas." I started trying to sound casual. Her voice got tight. "Oh, honey. Well, you know we are still working out the details." "What details?" "We have done the same thing for 20 years. Christmas Eve at your house, midnight mass, then Christmas Day, with presents and dinner." "Well, things are different this year." She paused too long. "Marcus will explain everything to you." The line went dead and I stared at my phone. In 28 years, my mother had never deflected a conversation about family gatherings. Something was seriously wrong. That evening, Marcus called. His tone was all business, like he was closing a real estate deal instead of talking to his younger brother. "Emilio, we need to talk about Christmas." "Yeah, Ma said you would explain the details. The thing is..." He paused and I could hear Jennifer talking to the kids in the background. "We have decided Christmas is no place for losers this year." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What did you just say? Look, I am not trying to be cruel here. But you have been bringing everyone down lately. The job thing, the Amanda situation, living in that tiny apartment. The family agreed we want to keep things positive for the kids. We cannot have negative energy around the holidays." I sat in stunned silence as my own brother listed my recent failures like evidence in a court case. 3 months of unemployment had somehow transformed me from beloved uncle to family liability. "Marcus, I am going through a rough patch. That does not make me a loser." "Emilio, when was the last time you contributed anything positive to a family gathering at Thanksgiving? You showed up late because of some job interview that obviously did not work out. You could not even help with dinner costs. Mom and Dad are embarrassed. We all are." The conversation ended with Marcus telling me they would reconsider including me next year if I got my act together, as if love and belonging were performance-based rewards I had to earn back. The next morning I called Sophia hoping she would have a different perspective. We had always been close, sharing secrets and supporting each other through difficult times. Surely she would understand this was insane. "Sophia, what is this nonsense about Christmas?" Her voice was quiet, almost whispered. "Emilio, I am at work. Can we talk later?" Just tell me you did not agree with Marcus about this loser comment. The pause told me everything I needed to know before she spoke. Look, it was not my idea, but we talked about it in the family group chat and everyone thinks maybe some space would be good for you right now. What family group chat? Oh, another pause. The one without you. We created it a few weeks ago to plan Christmas without making you feel bad about not being able to afford gifts this year. So they had been discussing my life and making decisions about my worth behind my back. The betrayal cut deeper than Marcus's blunt cruelty. Sophia, you agreed to exclude your own brother from Christmas. Mom and Dad think you have become unreliable and unprofessional. They are worried about what message it sends to have someone around who cannot get their life together. Jennifer mentioned the kids asking why Uncle Emmy always seems sad now. I remembered Thanksgiving. I had arrived 30 minutes late because a potential employer wanted to meet that afternoon. It was the first promising lead I had gotten in weeks, and I thought the family would understand. Instead, I walked into cold stares and whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room. When the bill came for dinner at the restaurant, I quietly explained I could cover my share but not much more. The embarrassment on my parents' faces had haunted me for weeks. After hanging up with Sophia, I made the mistake of checking social media. There it was, all laid out in cheerful holiday posts. Mom's Instagram showed cookie baking preparations with the caption, "Getting ready for our intimate family Christmas." Marcus posted pictures from his company's holiday party, his arm around Jennifer, both of them glowing with success. Sophia shared engagement ring photos with holiday decorations in the background, talking about celebrating love with family. Extended family members commented on these posts, asking where I was when they would see me. The responses were vague deflections about keeping things small this year. I realized they had crafted a narrative where I simply did not exist, and everyone was playing along. I scrolled through old Christmas photos on my phone, remembering when things were different. There I was last year holding Marcus's daughter while she opened presents. There I was teaching his son to play guitar during Christmas dinner. There I was helping Mom in the kitchen, making her laugh with impressions of Dad's friends from work. When had I transformed from cherished family member to embarrassing liability? When had temporary setbacks become permanent character flaws in their eyes? The man in those photos looked happy and confident. The man sitting alone in his studio apartment felt like a stranger to that person. 3 months of unemployment had somehow erased 28 years of being a loving son, brother, and uncle. I was the same person who had helped Marcus move 3 times, who had stayed with Sophia through her appendectomy, who had painted my parents' house every summer through college. But none of that mattered now. I was just a loser who did not belong at Christmas. Christmas Eve arrived gray and cold. I sat in my studio apartment watching old family Christmas videos on my phone, the contrast between past joy and present isolation almost unbearable. In one video from 2 years ago, I was playing Santa for Marcus's kids. Their faces lit up with excitement as I handed out gifts in a ridiculous red suit Dad had worn for decades. That afternoon, something shifted inside me. Maybe it was exhaustion from weeks of hurt and anger. Maybe it was finally accepting that fighting for their approval was pointless. But I felt a strange sense of calm settle over my shoulders like a warm blanket. I opened the family group chat, the one that included me, and typed a message I had been crafting in my head for days. Marcus, after thinking about your comments, I calmly agree with you. Christmas should be for people who support each other through good times and bad. Since that does not seem to describe our family dynamic right now, I will be spending Christmas helping at St. Michael's Community Center, serving dinner to families who understand what real love looks like. I hope you all have the positive, successful Christmas you are looking for. I hit send before I could second guess myself, then immediately muted the chat notifications. Within an hour, I was at St. Michael's Community Center downtown, signing up to volunteer for Christmas Day dinner service. The coordinator, Patricia, was a retired elementary school teacher with kind eyes and silver hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She welcomed me like I was exactly what they had been waiting for. "We can always use another pair of hands," she said, handing me a volunteer t-shirt. "Fair warning, though, it gets emotional. Lots of families here are going through tough times, but the gratitude and community spirit will restore your faith in people." I met the other volunteers who would be working Christmas Day. David was a college sophomore spending winter break giving back instead of partying. Carmen was a single mother who volunteered every year because the center had helped her family when she lost her job 5 years earlier. Uncle Tony, my father's younger brother, surprised me by showing up as I was leaving the orientation. "Emilio, what are you doing here?" He pulled me into a bear hug that smelled like sawdust and coffee. "Could ask you the same question, Uncle Tony. Been volunteering here for 3 years, ever since Marie and I got back on our feet." He studied my face. "Something tells me this is not just about giving back for you." I told him everything. About Marcus's comment about the family group chat without me. About spending Christmas alone while everyone else celebrated my absence. Uncle Tony listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. "You know they pulled similar garbage on me during my divorce," he finally said. "Made me feel like damaged goods because my marriage fell apart. Your dad barely spoke to me for 2 years because he was embarrassed about what people would think. I had no idea. Family likes to rewrite history when it suits them. But here is what I learned. The people who matter do not abandon you when life gets messy. They show up with casseroles and kind words and practical help." He clapped my shoulder. "Speaking of which, my construction company could use someone with marketing skills. Been thinking about expanding, but I do not know the first thing about websites and social media nonsense." "Uncle Tony, I cannot take charity." "Who said anything about charity? I am talking about a business partnership. You help me grow the company, I give you equity and a steady income. What do you say?" For the first time in months, I felt hope creeping back into my chest. Not the desperate hope of needing my family's approval, but the solid hope of building something meaningful with someone who valued me as I was. Christmas morning, I woke up early and headed to St. Michael's. The kitchen was already bustling with volunteers, prepping vegetables, stirring enormous pots of soup, and arranging donated desserts on serving trays. Patricia put me in charge of coordinating the gift distribution for families with children. As the day progressed, I watched miracle after miracle unfold. Volunteers who had never met before worked together like a well-oiled machine. Families who had lost homes, jobs, and hope sat down to a feast prepared with love by strangers who expected nothing in return. Children played together regardless of their circumstances, their laughter echoing through the community center. I thought about Marcus and Sophia and my parents probably sitting around the dining room table I had helped Dad refinish last spring, carefully avoiding any mention of the empty chair where I usually sat. Were they enjoying their positive, successful Christmas? Did they miss me at all? Or did my absence make their celebration more comfortable? 6 months later, my life looked completely different. Uncle Tony and I had officially launched Rossetti Construction and Marketing Solutions. His practical building expertise combined with my digital marketing skills created something neither of us could have achieved alone. We landed our first major contract renovating a historic downtown building, and I was developing marketing strategies that tripled his previous annual revenue. I moved into a nice one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood I actually wanted to live in, with a real kitchen and windows that faced east so I could watch the sunrise with my morning coffee. The financial stress that had consumed every waking moment began to fade, replaced by the satisfaction of building something meaningful. Through my volunteer work at St. Michael's, I met Sarah, a social worker who coordinated services for homeless families. She was brilliant and funny and kind, with laugh lines around her eyes and a way of making everyone around her feel valued. We started dating slowly, built on a foundation of shared values rather than convenience or desperation. My family's attempts at reconciliation began in March, starting with Marcus. "Hey, Emilio, I heard about your business venture." "That is really great." His voice carried the forced casualness of someone who needed something. "Actually, I was wondering if you might have time to look at my company's marketing strategy. We are launching a new development, and our current approach is not getting the results we expected." "Thanks for thinking of me, Marcus, but I am fully booked through the summer. You might want to try Johnson Marketing Group downtown." The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if he had hung up. "Come on, man. We are family." "Yes, we are." Which makes what happened at Christmas even more disappointing. "Look, maybe we handled that wrong. But you have to understand, we were just trying to protect the kids from seeing you so down. The kids who loved playing guitar with their Uncle Emmy. The kids who used to beg me to read them bedtime stories when I babysat. Those kids needed protection from me." Marcus did not have an answer for that. Sophia tried a different approach a few weeks later, calling to invite me to her engagement party. "I know things got weird around Christmas, but we are family. I want you there when I celebrate the biggest day of my life so far. I appreciate the invitation, Sophia, but I will be out of town that weekend. Sarah and I are visiting her parents in Colorado. Sarah, I realized I had not told my family about the most important relationship in my life. Not because I was hiding it, but because they had become strangers to me. Sarah knew everything about my family situation and supported my decision to maintain boundaries while staying open to genuine reconciliation. She is someone special. Maybe you will meet her someday when things are different between us. Mom and Dad were the hardest to navigate. They called on a random Tuesday evening in May, their voices careful and awkward. Emilio, we have been thinking about you a lot lately, Mom began. We heard about your business success, Dad added quickly. We are very proud of you. Are you proud of me? Or are you proud of my financial stability? That is not fair, Mom said, but her voice lacked conviction. What is not fair is excluding your son from Christmas because he was going through a difficult time. What is not fair is making a group chat specifically to talk about me behind my back. What is not fair is teaching your grandchildren that love is conditional on success. We never meant, Dad started. But you did. You meant exactly what you said and did. The question is whether you understand why it was wrong and what you are willing to do to rebuild trust. By November, the family dynamics had shifted in ways none of us expected. Marcus's real estate company was under investigation for cutting corners on safety inspections to increase profit margins. The stress was affecting his marriage, and Jennifer had moved back to her parents' house with the kids. Sophia's engagement imploded when her fiancé's gambling addiction came to light, leaving her heartbroken and questioning everything about their relationship. She had been so focused on the fairy tale wedding that she missed all the red flags about his character. Mom called me when Dad had chest pains that turned out to be a mild heart attack. For the first time in almost a year, her voice was vulnerable and real. Emilio, I know we messed up badly, but he keeps asking for you. Could you please come to the hospital? I drove straight there, not because I had forgiven everything, but because love sometimes means showing up even when it hurts. Dad looked small and scared in the hospital bed, nothing like the strong patriarch who had always seemed invincible. I am sorry, he whispered when I took his hand. We were wrong about Christmas. We were wrong about a lot of things. Over the following weeks, as Dad recovered and the family dealt with Marcus's legal troubles and Sophia's heartbreak, something interesting happened. I found myself in the role of steady support, the one family member whose life was not falling apart. Instead of gloating or keeping score, I helped however I could. I gave Marcus the name of a good attorney. I listened to Sophia cry about her broken engagement. I brought Dad his favorite soup from the deli he loved. Not because I owed them anything, but because I had learned the difference between conditional love and unconditional boundaries. I could love my family while protecting myself from their dysfunction. I could offer help without needing their approval or validation in return. Christmas rolled around again, and this time the invitation was different. No assumptions, no demands, just a genuine request. We would love to have you join us this year if you want to, Mom said, but we understand if you would rather continue your volunteer tradition. I thought about it carefully. Sarah and I had planned to host Christmas dinner for the volunteers from St. Michael's and their families. Uncle Tony and his wife Marie were coming along with Patricia, David Carmen, and several others who had become chosen family over the past year. Actually, why do not you all come to my place this year? I am hosting dinner for the people who have become family to me. If you would like to meet them and be part of something real, you are welcome. The Christmas that followed was nothing like our old traditions and everything like what family should be. My small apartment was crowded with people who had found each other through service and shared values rather than blood obligation. Marcus brought his kids, who immediately bonded with Carmen's teenage daughter over video games. Sophia spent the afternoon teaching Patricia's granddaughter how to braid hair. Mom and Dad quietly observed how naturally everyone cared for each other, without keeping score or judging circumstances. Sarah squeezed my hand as we watched Dad showing David some basic carpentry techniques, using scraps from Uncle Tony's latest project. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "This is what you were fighting for without even knowing it." She was right. I had not been fighting to get back into my old family dynamic. I had been fighting to create space for authentic love and acceptance. Being excluded from that painful Christmas had forced me to discover what real family actually looked like. As the evening wound down and people began to leave, Marcus approached me privately. "I owe you an apology that is about 11 months overdue." "Yes, you do. I called you a loser because I was scared of being one myself. Seeing you struggle made me confront how fragile my own success really was. Instead of supporting you, I tried to distance myself from anything that reminded me that life can change in an instant. Marcus, we all face setbacks. The measure of character is how we treat each other when things get difficult. I know that now. This year taught me the difference between looking successful and actually being successful as a human being. Looking back, I realized that phone call 11 months ago was the best worst thing that ever happened to me. Marcus calling me a loser and excluding me from Christmas forced me to examine what I was really seeking from my family and whether it was worth having. I learned that some rejections are redirections toward your true path. The family that excluded me was not the family I needed. The family I built through service and shared values became the foundation for genuine happiness and security. I learned that worth is not determined by employment status, relationship status, or bank account balance. Worth comes from how you treat others when you have nothing left to prove. I learned that dignity in the face of cruelty reveals who you really are, while cruelty in the face of vulnerability reveals who they really are. Most importantly, I learned that you cannot control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond. Choosing grace over bitterness, boundaries over resentment, and growth over stagnation transforms painful experiences into powerful lessons. My relationship with my birth family is still healing. Some wounds take time to mend completely, and trust must be rebuilt through consistent actions, not just words. But the family I chose, the community I built, and the life I created from the ashes of that rejection have given me something more valuable than I ever had before: the unshakable knowledge that I am worthy of love exactly as I am. Sometimes the people who push you away are doing you the greatest favor of your life. They force you to discover strength you never knew you had, and to build connections based on character rather than obligation. That Christmas, when I was uninvited, taught me that real family shows up with casseroles when you lose your job, not group chats about your failures. Real family celebrates your small victories and supports you through inevitable defeats. Real family sees your temporary circumstances as just that, temporary. I still volunteer at St. Michael's every Christmas, and Sarah and I are planning our own family now. The children we raise will learn that love is not conditional on achievement, that family supports each other through all seasons of life, and that sometimes the greatest gift you can receive is discovering you are stronger and more capable of love than you ever imagined. What about you? Have you ever faced rejection that ultimately led you to something better? Have you had to choose between fighting for acceptance and building your own path forward? I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the lower comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Do not forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming family challenges and building authentic relationships. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you the courage to love yourself enough to demand the love you deserve from others.